Today, I'm going to talk about my number one source of properties, and it's something I've been using for 15 years, and I've bought hundreds and hundreds of houses from this source, and I've been doing it for a really long time, but I don't really talk about it publicly because, honestly, I didn't want the competition. But at this point, I've built an entire business around it, so it's time to share it with you. And that source is Probate. Now, I know when people hear probate, they think it's complicated, it takes forever, and the leads are impossible to find, but I'm going to address all of that today. If you've ever been interested in probate investing as a real estate investor, you're going to want to check this video out today. But first, let me tell you why probate is hands down the greatest source of properties for real estate investors. And here's the number one reason. They have to sell the house. And that sounds so simple, but if you really think about it, every other source you're working, pre-foreclosures, absentee owners, divorces, those people are motivated, sure, but they don't have to do anything. They can wait, they can change their mind, they can decide to keep it. But with probate, someone has passed away and they either didn't have a will or the will was contested. The court gets involved, an attorney gets involved. And the estate has debts, right? Mortgages, credit cards, Medicaid liens. I mean, the house is usually the biggest asset and they have to sell it to pay those debts off. So the person in charge of the estate, who's the fiduciary or the executor or whatever they call it in your area, they're dealing with all of this for the first time. So banks are calling, Medicaid's calling, they're answering every single phone call from numbers they don't recognize because they have to. And that's your opportunity. You're calling someone who needs help and is already in the mode of dealing with business. Now, let me knock the 3 biggest myths about probate investing out right now, okay? These are the reasons why people avoid it and they're all wrong. Myth number 1, probate takes too long. And this is the biggest one I hear. Probate takes forever. Here's what we found, okay? We've tracked hundreds of probate properties across multiple counties. About half of them sell to investors. And of those, about 40% sell within the first 30 days. 30 days. That's not slow, right? So why does everybody think that probate takes a long time? Well, because the leads that they're getting are already 30 days old by the time that they see them. See, most of the services that sell probate leads, they get their data once a month from the courthouse. But by the time it hits your inbox, like the fastest moving cases, they're already gone. Like the best deals, they're gone already. So it's not that probate is slow, it's that your data is slow. And even if a case does take a little bit longer, that's fine. You have a steady stream of probate leads coming in every day. So you're just calling on cases at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Eventually they're ready and you're the one who's been following up the whole time. So myth number 2, the leads are hard to find. And this one's actually true. I mean, the leads are hard to find, and that's exactly why it's such a great opportunity for real estate investors. And the reason is that every single county and every single state handles probate differently. So some have all the records online, some have partial records, some have nothing online at all. So you'd have to physically go to the courthouse. So the bottom line is there's no one-size-fits-all approach. And the lead providers that sell that data, well, they're doing the same thing that they do with pre-foreclosures. They buy a data tape once a month from some data broker, they load it up, and they sell you a spreadsheet. It's old, it's incomplete, and everybody on their list gets the same leads. Now, that's the competition problem. It's not that probate has too much competition, it's that the few lead sources that are available give everyone the same stale data at the same time. Now, myth number 3 is that the data quality is bad. And this goes hand in hand with myth number 2. So when you buy a list from one of these providers, a lot of times they don't even tell you if there's real estate in the case, which is crazy. So you're paying for a name and you're paying for a case number, and then you have to do all the research yourself, and you've got to figure out if there's even a house. And the data doesn't even update. So if the case settles and the property sells, if the fiduciary changes, you never know. You're just working off a snapshot that's weeks or even months old. So here's the thing. The 3 myths are actually the same problem. It's really just a data problem. The leads exist, the opportunity is real, the sellers are motivated, but the infrastructure for finding and tracking these leads, it hasn't been there. And that's what we built, but I'll get to that in a minute. Let me give you an example of why this is worth it. We had a property on Kemper Lane, which is in a historic neighborhood outside of Cincinnati. It's a probate deal. The person who passed away, they owned a bar in Dayton. It was like a commercial building that had an apartment in it. And then they had this house down here in Cincinnati. So the heirs were scattered all across the country. I mean, one was in California. Locally, there's a couple here or there, but there was nobody in the estate and they had to sell everything. So nobody wanted to deal with it was the bottom line. To make matters worse, the attorney that was handling it was a little bit of a nightmare. For 2 years, he kept telling us 2 weeks, just 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. And that is the longest deal that we've ever had in probate. Those 2 weeks turned into 2 years. And that's definitely an outlier for sure. But here's why we waited. Here's why we waited, okay? We had our contract filed with the probate court. Nobody could go around us. We were locked in. That's the beauty of dealing with the court system. It's not like amateur hour out there, right? So there's a process, there's deadlines, and your contract is protected. So we bought the house for $138,000, and we sold it to one of our best investors for $183,000. That's a $45,000 wholesale fee. And our buyer rehabbed it and listed for $700,000. So that's just one deal. That's a win-win for everybody, right? One probate case, and it all started with the right phone call to the right person. Now, speaking of the right person, let me tell you the biggest mistake that people make in probate. And they call the probate attorney. Now, I understand why you think that'd be a good idea, right? I mean, the attorney handles the estates, they handle all kinds of estates, right? So surely they'll know about properties for sale, right? Well, here's what the data says. We tracked 100 probate cases that sold to investors. We looked at every attorney that handled those cases. Out of 100 cases, 90 of them, 90, were with attorneys that only had one probate case, just one. The average estate attorney handles maybe 2 probate cases a year. I mean, that's it. The rest of their business is keeping properties out of probate. I mean, think about it. They set up living trusts, estate planning, transfer on death deeds. I mean, that's the real money for these estate attorneys. So probate is their problem child. They didn't set these cases up themselves. Sometimes the family member called them and said, hey, can you help us with this? And the attorney took it on, after the fact. And here's the worst part. The attorney gets paid last. So after Medicaid, after the credit cards, and after the heirs, after everybody, the attorney is the very last one out the door. So you're calling on an attorney who has one probate case that they're not making any money on, and 12 other investors have already called him this week. It just doesn't make any sense. So here's what to do instead. You call the fiduciary directly. The fiduciary is the person that the court appointed to manage the estate. It's usually a member of the family or a close friend. And this is probably the biggest thing that they've ever had to deal with, and definitely the biggest thing going on in their life right then. So they've got to do a full inventory of everything the person owned. The fiduciary's got to deal with bills, debts, banks, Medicaid, and they've got to hire an appraiser. They might need to pay a mortgage that don't even have access to the funds yet, and they've got to sell the property. So they're overwhelmed, right? They've been dealing with so many different parties. They've got dealing with banks, attorneys, insurance, courts, and this is where you come in. Because of that, they're answering every phone call. They have to, right? They can't afford to ignore unknown numbers. So when you call, be that reliable person for them. Don't be another investor trying to lowball them, right? Be somebody who understands what they're going through and can help them get through the process. The scripts that I use are specifically designed for probate calls. And when I call a fiduciary or personal representative, I'm not pitching them on why, they should sell me the house. What I'm doing is I'm asking them how things are going. I want to know where things are in the process and what they need help with. Not once or twice, 10 times, 15 times, or even 20 times over 6 or 8 months if that's what it takes. See, the key is that you're not going deep on a big list for one day and then disappearing, right? You're going wide. You're calling the same people consistently over time. That's how you get these deals. So here's the thing. Everything I just described, finding the leads, tracking the cases, knowing when to follow up, that whole process used to be completely manual. We had spreadsheets where we're checking court websites every day. We're physically going to the courthouse. We were cross-referencing every property record by hand. And that's why I built HomeFlip.ai. So HomeFlip.ai is an AI-powered platform specifically for real estate investors who want probate leads. And here's what it does. Every single day, it syncs up with our database that pulls new cases from the probate records in your counties. Not once a month from a data tape. Every day, it syncs up with our database, which syncs up with the court records. And it matches those cases to property records automatically, so you know right away if there's real estate in the estate. And even better, it tracks the case over time. So when the inventory gets filed, the property hits the MLS, when the case is reaching the point where the fiduciary is most likely to be ready to sell, and it tells you who to call and when, based on the data that we've collected across hundreds and thousands of cases. Now, think of it as an AI agent working your counties every single day, pulling information, syncing it up, and putting the right leads in front of you at the right time. Now, right now we're currently in beta and we're active in multiple states and we're adding more every single week. If you want to see if your state and your county are available, go to HomeFlip.ai and click on Claim Your County. That'll let you book a strategy call with me directly, and we'll hop on a Zoom call for 30 minutes and I'll show you how the whole thing works. We'll look at what's available in your area as well. So if probate has ever felt too complicated or too slow or just seems like it's just too hard to find leads for, it's because you didn't have the right data, and that's what we fixed. So go to HomeFlip.ai, click Claim Your County, and let's see what's out there. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Keep crushing it, and I'll see you back here next week.